So we'll start and on Vav Amid Beis. This is Vav Amid Beis, page 6, side B, towards the bottom of the page. Okay. We're starting with Tonu Rabbono. We're getting very close to the next Mishnah, and we're all talking about this whole tractate is talking about things that you can or cannot do on Chol HaMoed. We only allow you to do those things which are a big loss, and that's all the various different halachas that we were discussing over here is, when it is a big loss, what is a big loss. And so let's continue with a brisa. Tana Rabbanan. So we learned in the brisa, marbitzin zdei lovon bashvis. Marbitzin means you sprinkle, you water a zdei lovon. A zdei lovon means a white field. There's two fields. There is a zdei ilan. There is a field in which you grow trees, and there is a field which you grow grain. The field that you grow grain is called a zdei lovon, a white field, because it's like a blanket that you sow the ground. So the Brisa says that on Shvi'is, on the Shemitah year, the 7th year, it is okay to sprinkle water on the field. Although one cannot partake of the growing things on Shvi'is, it's Shemitah, but yet one is allowed to water the field, and that would be beneficial for the next year's crops. So the watering is okay. Now, Rashi says they love on a white field, a grain field, and Rashi says Beis Habal. Beis Habal means a field that gets water by the rainwater. So most of it is the rainwater. Usually a field which has trees needs more water than the water. That would be more a Beis HaShalochim, that you bring water, that we learned in the previous Mishnah to bring water. But this is as they love on in the field, but on Shvi'is you can sprinkle it, bring water, avoloi b'moyin. But on Yom Tov, you're not permitted to sprinkle it because it is enough, the rainwater. It's like we said, it's a zdei habal, it says Beis Habal. So on Chol HaMoed, we don't allow you to sprinkle it because that's troubling, and the field is unnecessary. It's not something that the field needs. So according to the first opinion, or according to this brisa, you are not allowed to sprinkle or water a field on the Chol HaMoed that grows the grain, which normally suffices the water that comes from the rain. But the Gemara asks, but we have another brisa, v'hotanya, but we learned in another brisa. Over there, the other brisa seems to say that you could water the grain field on Chol HaMoed, v'hotanya, but we learned in a brisa, marbitzin, that you could water the field, bein b'moyed, bein b'shvis, whether it's on Chol HaMoyed or on the 7th year. This brisa allows you to water the fields also on Chol HaMoyed, not only on Shvis. So what's the explanation? So Omar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, Loi Kashya, this is not really a question, it's not a problem. Because Hora Belozer ben Yaakov, Hora Bonon. This that we don't allow you to water it goes like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, and the Braisa that says you could goes like the Rabbanon. Before in the Mishnah over here, we had a machloikis. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov said that ubilvat shelo yashkes kol hasoder. He doesn't allow you to sprinkle to water the entire field. So the opinion of the first brisa goes like him, but then the Chachamim says matirim bazeh ubazeh, that you are allowed to. So these are the two brises over here that we learn over here. Again, Amar Rav Huna says Rav Huna loy kashya. This is not really a question because Ho Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, the brisa that says you cannot marbitzin, you cannot sprinkle the entire field during Chol HaMoyed, goes according to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, and Ho, the other brisa that says you could, goes like the Rabban. Let's do the Rashi. Ho, Zot Rashi, Ho de Kotoni. This that it says in the Braisa, it says Avoloy Yashkem b'moyed. It says Avoloy b'moyed, that you cannot water them, marbitzi, that you cannot water them in the Chol HaMoyed. Hainu Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. This goes like Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. The Omar, he said in the Mishnah, Avol lo yashke es kol hasodeh kulo, because over there he allows by the tree to pull the water, but then when he talks about the fields, he says lo yashke es kol hasodeh kulo. That's what he said over there. Zroim shloishos lifnei hamoyed lo yashke b'moyed. So he doesn't allow for you to have them water them during Chol HaMoed. He says lo yashkes kol hasodeh kulo. The Tony in the second brisa that it says bein b'moyed bein b'shvis, that you could sprinkle, you could marbitzin, you could water it both on Chol HaMoed and on shvis. I knew Chachamim, that goes like the Chachamim, the Matirim Lahashkois, Hafilu Kol HaSod, that they allow to water even the entire field. Zog di Gemara, Tanya Yidoch. We learned yet in another brisa that Marbitzin Sdei Lovon Erev Shvius, you could sprinkle the grain field before the 7th year, so that vegetation comes out on Shvis. So if you want to water before Shvis, so that there will be vegetable growing in Shvis, that's okay, as long as you're not doing the work in Shvis. As Rashi says, but you're not allowed to water on the 7th year on Shemitah so that it grows on Shemitah. That you can't do. You could have it, water it before Shvi'is, so it goes on Shvi'is. But you can't water it on Shvi'is so that it comes out for Shvi'is itself. It's even more than that. Not only can you water from before Shvi'is to grow on Shvi'is, they love him b'Shvi'is. You can actually even water the field. They'll stay loving on Shvi'is, so that they produce vegetation Matzoi Shvi'is. So it turns out that you're working on Shvi'is, but you're not working for the Shemitah for the 7th year. You're not allowed to partake from any of the vegetables that grow on Shvi'is. But you can work on Shvi'is in order to get the vegetation to grow for after Shvi'is. Okay, so that's done with that. Now we're going to turn our attention to other kinds of work that is necessary to do in the field, and what is it permissible to do on Chol HaMoed, and what is permissible to do on Shvi'is, on Shemitah. Now, we have even today, we have a problem of insects who damage the vegetation, that damages the growth. So the Mishnah is going to talk about what things are permitted to be done during Chol HaMoed and during Shvi'is to protect the field from the insects, from the rodents. Zog the Mishnah, Sodin Eso Ishus. Ishus they call moles. I guess moles are blind, as we see in the Gemara. They don't have eyes. Those are kind of an insect. So these insects, however, damage the vegetation, and also the esahachborim, and also the mice. I guess mice eat it up again, also. And you can protect both mizdei ha'ilon, from a tree, a field of trees, and mizdei ha'lavon, and from a field that grows grain, in both cases. And the way it's done is kidarka. You can do it in the normal way. You can trap these issues and these achborim in their usual way. Sometimes when we don't allow you to do a malacha, we don't allow you to do a malacha in the usual way. And we tell you to do the malacha in a way of change, in a different way, not in the usual way. So here is saying to you that you can do it in both of these fields. You can do it in the usual way. You don't need to make any changes when you trap the ishus and the achborim, these moles and these mice. Rashi, tzodino ishus, sagt Rashi, bizdei ha'ilon b'moyed. In the field in which this tree is growing during the Yom Tov, mipnei shemafsidim boy. Why are you allowed to do it on Chol HaMoed, not Yom Tov, but Chol HaMoed? Is because they cause damage. They cause damage in both, in the Zdei Ilon and the Zdei Halom. And Rashi and the Mishnah adds Kedarkoi. Kedarkoi means in the usual way. Kedarkoi means she'ein tzorich l'shanois b'tzeidah. You're not required to make any changes when you're trapping it. Trap it your normal way. And this can be done b'moyed u b'shvi'is, both during Chol HaMoed and also in the 7th year. Now, what's the issue of trapping on Shviz? You're not allowed to work the field. But what kind of a issue would there be on Shviz about trapping the insects? And Rashi says, "Ubishviz afal gavde mesaken hasoda." Even though he is fixing the fields, still we allow you to do it on Shviz. Shviz, you're not allowed to work the field. But I guess trapping the insects, the moles, that's still considered to be type of helping the field, is no problem to do that. So basically, according to the first Manda Omar, according to the first opinion, the Tanakama, you can do both fields in the usual way, on Yom Tov, on Chalamoyed, and on Shviz, everything is permitted. The Chachamim say no. They don't allow you to do everything. They say Mizdei ha'ilon kidarkoi. It is more damaging for a tree to have these moles and the mice in there than it is from the field. A grain is less impact on the grain field. So therefore, they make a distinction. They say Mizdei Ilon Kidarkoi, that from a field of trees you can do it in the normal way. You don't have to make any changes. And Rashi explains Mizdei Ilon Sod Kidarkoi. Over there, you can trap them in the usual way. Why? Because by a tree field, it's a big loss to have these moles and mice eat up the fruit over there. But we're not going to allow you to do it in the way you want it, but only shaloi kidarkei, only in the non-usual way, because it is not as essential as it is for a tree field as it is done. Rashi says, "Ubistei lovam shaloi kidarkei, ve'eino yochoi lotzut kidarkei b'zdei lovam." He is not able to, and not allowed to, trap in the usual way if we're talking about a grain, a field of grain. Why? Mishum deloi mafsid kulahay b'zdei lovam. They don't make such a great damage, loss in a field, in the white field, in a grain field, and therefore we're not going to allow you to do it unless you make a change. You make a change, it's not such a malacha, then we'll allow you. But other than that, according to the Chachamim, you're not allowed to by Yazdei Halovim. Another halacha we say, Umakrin es hapirza b'moyed. During Chol HaMoyed, you can fix, put in the holes to patch up the pirza during Yom Tov. If you have a garden and there is a hole, the animals are coming in there, you can fix it during Chol HaMoyed. You can't build a wall on Chol HaMoyed for the garden. We'll see in the Gemara, but if it fell down, then you can go ahead and put it up. If part of the wall fell down, he goes back and he can fix it on Yom Tov. You can fix it on Yom Tov. The Gemara is going to give you more details how you can fix it and what you do to fix it. But Ubashviz, but if we're talking about the 7th year, there's no problem with building a fence. It's not even if it fell down. But on the 7th year, you can just build usual, the Trashi mitchila, from the beginning. So what's the problem? I'm not working the field. I'm making a fence. What should be the problem? Again, Rashi explains, similar to what Rashi explained earlier. Although it looks like he's making a guard for the fruit. He's putting a wall around there, so he's trying to protect the fruit. Shvi is supposed to be hefker. That's not a problem. Do the Gemara. Read the Gemara, my issues. What is issues? We talked about malls. We call them malls. What is this issues? Amar Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda, Beria she'en lo einayim. It's a creature that has no eyes. It's not a bat. We're talking about an insect that has no eyes. And Beria she'en lo einayim doesn't have eyes. I guess v'chayfe bekarka, it digs in the ground. It doesn't see where it's going or what it's doing, so it digs in the ground. And that ruins, the field. Zog the Gemara, Amar Rava bar Yishmael. Rava bar Yishmael, and the others say Rabbi Yemer bar Yishalmeya. Micro, where do we have a pasuk that tells us that this mole has no eyes? Micro, where is the pasuk? The issues beri yashein lo inayim, that an issues is a creature that has no eyes. Because it says in the Tehillim, in Perik Nanches, it says, the pasuk says, just like Kamoi, just like a shablul. A shablul is a snail. Just like a snail, a shablul. Temes, he melts when he starts to walk. Rashi brings out over here that the snail, things run down, he melts, he doesn't really last a long time once he comes out of his shell. And then it says Nofal Ashes, so that's the same as the Ashes, which is this mole that we're talking about. Balchozu Shomesh, they never saw the sun. Basically, so we see that the issues doesn't see the sun, meaning because he has no eyes. The Ksiv, he brings the pasuk, Shablu Temes Yahalich. Just like the Shablu melts when he goes. Shablu, Zoktrashi, Shekoirin Limtsum. We call it a limtsum. They teach it as a snail. Temes Yalich. He melts when he goes, Kloimer to say. When he goes out of his casing, there drips from him, these rir runs from him, until he melts and he dies. The word Thomas is kimoy venomis, like he melts.
Why do we need a pasuk to tell us about?
Sorry?
Why do we need a pasuk to tell us about the animal?
He just asked if he can find the pasuk. I guess he has a pasuk. He just wants to show he doesn't have any eyes. We didn't. So the next part of the pasuk tells us about the issues. Nofal eshes balchozu shomesh. This eshes is this mole that we're talking about. The issues that we're talking about, and it says here also. Bal chozu shomesh, they didn't see the sun. Let's see the Rashi. Nofal eshes bal chozu shomesh. Koloimer kach issues noiflois pisum laoretz. Likewise, these issues suddenly they fall to the ground, umeisim, and they die. V'loy chozu, because they don't see. So basically, here you see they don't have eyes. Whatever, it brings a pasuk for that. Tana Rabbana. Sure. We learned in Abraise we can trap these moles and these mice. Mizdei halovon from the grain field, or mizdei ha'ilon, and from the field of trees, kidarkoi, the normal way. You don't have to make any change. Then it says, you can also, we're going to get a lesson now in pesticides, how to get rid of the pests. He says you can destroy the holes of the ants. It's going to give you a lesson how to get rid of the ants. I guess the ants are climbing, crawling, making holes in the field over there. So he says, Macharibim, you can destroy them. How do you destroy them? How do we destroy the holes of the ants? So the Gemara says that Rab Shimon ben Gamliel comes up with an original idea how to destroy the ant holes. He says, maybe offer mechur zeh, you take the sand from one hole, the noisen l'teichur zeh, and you put it into the other hole. You mix the sand from each hole. And because they don't recognize the other sand, they choke each other. So these moles, they kill each other. The ants kill each other. They choke each other. Rashi, because they smell the sand, and they don't recognize. So that's why they go and they choke the other ants. Seems like really nitty-picky. The Gemara is going into really some very details. Rav Yemar Bar Shalmiya, in the name of the Abaye, he says, when does that help? When do we say that these ants don't know the other ants and they think that it's something else and they choke them? Is v'hu dekoyi bitrei ibra denara. That's only if they are on two sides of the river. And therefore, the moles on this side, the ants on one side don't know about the ants on the other side because the river interrupts. Well, we're not done yet. So Rashi says the key on the iko hefsek, since there is an interruption, hefsek mayim, there's interruption of water, benhani tarti chure nemolim, in between the two holes of these ants, ein makirin hani ba'afar lahani. So these ants don't recognize the sand of the other ones because there's a water that interrupts in between them. Okay. Now, even if there's an interruption of a water, the Gemara says, but provided there's no bridge. If there is a bridge over the water, no. Then the ants know, even though it's on two sides of the river, they will know the other sand as well. Gishra, says Rashi, is a gesher, that's a bridge. Now, sometimes they don't have a full bridge. Sometimes you have like a board going across a puddle. That's not such a comfortable bridge. That's good enough. Also, there could be no one board as a passover. That means it has a bridge made out of one plank that goes across. Even if he had that, they would know each other, and that wouldn't be a way to destroy them. And the further portion says, "Who the leka mitzvah." There's not even a mitzvah. A mitzvah is even a narrow than a board. Sometimes you have something that you go over, but you have to hold on both sides with your hands because it's so narrow. That's enough for these ants to cross the bridge, and they would know. That wouldn't be a way to get rid of them. Let's see around mitzvah. Mitzvah is adayin cotton megamlo. That is still smaller. That is yet smaller than the gamlo, than the board. Ein yochel lahalich. He cannot walk olav on it on this mitzvah. Elo kishekoishrim chevel echod. You have to tie a string mishnei evre hanor So you have two pegs, and you have a rope. You have to hold on to the rope. The rope has two pegs that it goes across. You hold on to it. And you go on that narrow bridge. If you have even one of these, whether you have a mitzvah, a gamla, or a gesher, makirin hani b'churin, the hani, these can tell these churin, and you're not going to be able to destroy them by filling the pit from the other one. Drag the Gemara. How far? Waiting for it to turn the page. Yeah. Why won't it turn the page? Hold on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Why is it it
I
froze?
can hear you.
For some reason it froze.
I think you have to hit the cancel on the top of the page.
I don't know why my page froze.
That's it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I have the picture, of the Zoom picture.
Yeah.
And it blocks the message which says that it wouldn't let it go because I didn't save it. So it wouldn't let it go. Okay. Much better. So the Gemara says, at Kamo, how much of a distance do these different holes of the ant holes have to be? At Kamo meruchokim hani trei churin molim. How far do they have to be so that you say the ikonaro beinayu, and if there is a river between them, the leko gishra, and there is no bridge, the ein makirin hani b'kuridani, that they won't recognize. In other words, how far apart, even if it would be on different side of the river, but if they were very close, they would know each other. How far does it have to be if there is no, so that they don't know each other? And what it says, ad parso. Up to a parso. Basically, Rashi says, leka parso beinayu, not the amount of a parso in between these two holes of the ants, avagav the ikonara, even though there is a river, veleko maver, there's no way to pass there. Makirin hani, the churidani, they will know each other. But more than a parsa, then they don't know anymore. Let's do another piece of the Gemara. Okay, that's how to get rid of pesticide and get rid of the ants.
We could use that guy.
Today we use the ant traps.
Today we could use that guy in Florida. We got.
Well, what?
We could use that guy in Florida. We got insects all over the place there.
I guess maybe they didn't want to taint their fruit and get them with all the chemicals that we use today. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. So we learned in the Braisa, Rabbi Yehuda says in the Mishnah, we learned that from a Zdeya Elon, if it's a field for trees, then you can trap them in a regular way, because over there it's a big loss. But Misdeya Lavon, if it's a tree, a field that grows grain, Shalokidak is not such a big loss. You have to do it at a change. So what does it mean? How do you trap in the usual way? And how do you trap in the unusual way? So now we're going to get a lesson in hunting or trapping. Tona Rabbona. We learned in Abraisa. Ketzat Kedarker. How do you trap the mice? I guess in the usual way. Choifer Guma, you dig a hole, and you put in there a trap. When the mice goes in there, it falls into the trap. How do you trap it not in the usual way? No, it's shpud. You stick a spit. Rashi says, no, it's shpud. The mokum shein mitsuyin, where they're found over there. Umerado hadoma, and then you circle on the earth. You squish down the and you squish them. As Rashi says, noyet spud. You put the spit, umarke bekurdum, and you bang with the hammer to push it down. Umerado hadoma mitachteho, and then you roll the ground and you smooth out, meaning you crush them over there. You crush them over there. That's the unusual way. Tanya, you learned in Abraisa, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov says, Kisha Omru Mizdei Lovan, Shaloi Kedarkoi, when the Chachamim said that the field of a grain should be done in the non-usual way, Loi Omru Elo Mizdei Lovan Hasmucha Le'ir, it's only in the grain field which is next to a city. So there's no urgency of getting rid of the mice of this day Lavan. Avo is day Lavan asmucha to a field. Avo is day Lavan asmucha is day Hayilon. But if it says day Lavan, which is close to a field of a tree, afilu kidarkoi, even in the usual way, you can do it. Why? Because they might go out from this grain field and they're going to destroy the trees. So therefore, you can do it even in the usual way. That's considered to be a big loss. Okay, we'll leave it over here. I just wanted to mention that today, this Shabbos is Yud Shvat, the 10th day of Shvat. So what is the 10th day of Shvat? Today is the 6th day of Shvat. But Shabbos will be the 10th day of Shvat. What's the 10th day of Shvat? Go ahead. I want you to tell me. Go ahead, Roy. What's
the
10th
day
day of
that
Shvat?
the day that the Rebbe
Say a little louder.
the day that the Rebbe took leadership.
Excellent. So you have a good rabbi in your Chabad house. He teaches you. So Yud Shvat is both. Really, it marks the Yortzeit, the day of passing of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And a year later, the Lubavitcher Rebbe took over the mantle of leadership, became the Rebbe. For an entire year, the Rebbe refused. He didn't want to take the mantle of leadership. And we know real leaders don't look to leadership as a way of being arrogant, a way of telling other people or getting honor. Moshe Rabbeinu refused fully. They don't think they're worthy. They don't think that I can be the one to take such awesome responsibility. They don't think of them. Their humility. Moshe Rabbeinu refused because he didn't think that he's able to. The Rebbe didn't think that he should accept it. It took a lot of begging. It took a lot of insisting. And at the end of the day, so that Chabad has a leader, should not be left without a leader, the Rebbe sort of reluctantly accepted it. But once the Rebbe accepted it, oh boy, the Hasidim learned that the Rebbe means business. The Rebbe became like a hands-on. I want to use that language of a CEO. The Rebbe demanded, and one of the things the Rebbe wanted everybody to write, everybody to report, and everybody to be accountable. And the Rebbe opened up a whole new look, an out-of-the-box looks. People thought we're doing so much. People thought much more could not be done. And the Rebbe basically empowered and showed how there is so much more we can do. And we have so much koyach. We just got to go ahead and utilize. Every letter, we learn the Rebbe's letters every morning. Every letter of the Rebbe, one of the most used words by the Rebbe is, I'm surprised, the Rebbe says. Now, Rebbe is surprised. There is more that can be done. Thank you for the good news. I appreciate it. You're doing well. But if with a little bit of effort, look how much you accomplished. The Rebbe says, can you imagine how much you would accomplish if you put in lots of efforts? So on and so forth. The Rebbe kept on pushing, and the Rebbe kept on encouraging people to do. No, the Rebbe, it seems like we're talking about the Rebbe in the present tense. It's after Gimel Tammuz, but the Rebbe's inspirations. If you look around, a new generation that was born way after the 3rd of Tammuz, when the Rebbe's passing, and you see how the commitment, the excitement, the enthusiasm, this is a great day to celebrate Yud Shvat. Look, all of us, whether we learn a class over here or benefits in the, I got a call from one of the major kashrus agencies. He says to me, besides everything else Chabad does, they help us provide kosher food for the entire Jewish community. We employ so much Chabad at our station. With no way we can do it to send out mashgichim and people to take care of the various different kosher needs. This is like a totally side point, and so on. And the Israeli government uses the Chabad houses, all over the world. Anyways, the Rebbe's impact is continuous. We got to take the time to learn about the Rebbe, learn about his teaching, learn about the Rebbe's expectation. One of the biggest things the Rebbe said is, help another Jew, bring them closer. Doesn't matter how much you know, how much you don't know, you still have a chance and a responsibility. The Rebbe says, if you help another Jew, Hashem will help you too. So if you want blessings for yourself, which we do, help another Yid, then Hashem is measure for measure, but many times much. So may the merit of this great tzaddikim be upon us, and may we be inspired and start learning and davening. And one of the easy things is to learn a portion of Chumash every day, a little bit of the Parsha, to learn a portion of the Tanya every day, say a little bit of Tillim every day. Hashem should give us all the encouragement and the blessings that we need in order to go and grow higher and higher. Okay, we leave this for today, and in Mitzvah Hashem, we shall continue Bezrat Hashem next week, the same size, time, same station. Hope, Ron, you feel much better.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Good night.